Here in this room, just as we are, sitting or lying on the floor. We welcome these bodies that we're in. From the tops of our heads to the tips of our toes, these are the only bodies that are named by the names that they were given or that we gave ourselves. This is the only time this particular body will have experienced its birth and moved through its life and experience its death. This body is unique, once in a lifetime, once in a generation, once in 100 years, once in a forever. There never will be again a body just like these 8 bodies in this room. And so for just a little while, we feel them. We start at our toes and we feel those toes that can move. And we allow them to feel movement and then quiet. We let ourselves trace our bodies going up, feeling the tops of our feet and around to the balls of the feet, moving up to the heels and around to the ankles. These are our feet, and the ankles all the way down to the tips of our toes. These are unique feet. There are no other feet like them on this planet or any other planet. And just for a little moment, we sit in gratitude for these feet. Whatever grudges we have against them, we sit in gratitude for those grudges as well. That's part of the whole story of the feet. And we allow our awareness to move from our ankles, moving up our lower legs. What is the story of our lower legs? What grudges have we held against them? What ways do we feel they've served us? We allow ourselves just these few minutes to sit in acceptance of our lower legs. And so from our knees all the way down to the tips of our toes, we just begin to allow them to be just as they are. As we relax into it, it's a good, easy feeling. Just letting from our knees all the way down to the tips of our toes, just to allow them to be as they are. And allowing all the busy mind that comes with it. What's the busy mind thinking about it? Well, that's okay too. Letting this moment be as it is. So from the knees, we can trace the upper legs, front and back, up to the hip joints. And from the hip joints now all the way down to the tips of the toes, the body can begin to feel that acceptance of the body just as it is. That acceptance can move again, can move from the hip joints, moving up the lower torso to the waist, allowing that acceptance to surround the lower torso and then just sink deeply in to all the internal organs that it houses. Again, as we just allow ourselves this time to sit in acceptance from the waist now all the way down to the tips of the toes. There's an easy feeling that comes from allowing everything to be as it is, just for these few minutes. That easy feeling can continue. It can move up the upper torso to the shoulders, allowing it to be felt in the tummy, the lungs, the heart, in the back, releasing any tension in the lower back, moving up and releasing any tension between the shoulder blades, coming up to rest on the shoulders, and from the shoulders now all the way down to the tips of the toes. The body just begins to sit in acceptance. This easy feeling perches on both shoulders and flows down both arms, moving down the upper arms, over the elbows, creases of the elbows, lower arms, wrists, hands, and fingertips. And from the shoulders now all the way down to the tips of the toes. The body begins just to relax in an easy acceptance of what it is. This feeling can move again, moving up the back of the neck, all the way to the top of the head, and just perching there for a moment. And then flowing down the brow, eyebrows, eyes, ears, cheeks, nose, mouth, chin, down into the neck, and from the top of the head to the tips of the toes, the body relaxes into acceptance of itself, just as it is. As this happens, the story arises within. That story as well is allowed to be just as it is. We'll watch it in our wonderful imaginations. Some of us more aware than others at the moment of what that story is. Whatever it may be, we sit in acceptance of that story, just as it is, just for these few minutes. And in being with our bodies and with our stories as they are, in being human, together in this room, we can begin as well to feel into that quiet space in each one of us. Quiet space in which there's nothing but quiet. Quiet space which wants nothing from us. Quiet space that needs nothing but what is. So we begin to sit with what is. Begin to sit with what has no possibility of changing. What a mystery this is. That within each of us there is something that does not change. As we begin to sit with what does not change, begin to notice qualities that arise from it. And to allow ourselves to notice how it loves the human. How from the top of our heads to the tips of our toes, it loves the body. And as the mind tells the story of this moment of being here together, whatever the mind might be saying, perhaps projecting into the future or projecting into the past, we begin to notice how the quiet, the still place, allows that story to be. Notice that it does not arise in judgment, it does not arise in fixing. That still place is just quiet. And then that still place begins to inform the story in the body. And it allows the body to be just as it is. It allows the story to be just as it is. And yet the inner attention is on the quiet rather than the body or the story. And so the silence begins to be that place called home.